We're always here, Alex. We're always here. Ready and waiting for this final best of 3. Ready and waiting for the last hour and a half. And Harry, it's got us well and truly hyped up for this one. Obviously, as laid out by the desk, this is a bit of a deciding match for Space Soldiers, or ex-Space Soldiers rather. I guess you could say, you know, I think this will have consequences as to whether we see this roster stay together and put in the long haul grind. But I'm all for it if they opt to give it a go. But let's see if they can pick up a win here. Their first win, their first map win in this season. And their last chance as well being real. If they lose this, they're going home with nothing and no opportunity to continue in this season. Straight up A smokes here for the ex-Space Soldiers. We see OpTic playing heavy towards B with a retake setup. We've got a kit on Snappy and the rotate's already coming through.
Ooh, NSL holding close there on the other side of that smoke.
Ooh.
Emor is fast into CT though, and that's going to facilitate this bomb plant. 3 players on the other side. Flash goes over, but Nico, fully blind, still able to pick up the lone gunman down towards CT. Ooh. And MSL is making this look too easy. OpTic will find the pistol out here. And they managed to keep 4 players alive, so pretty clean, all things considered as well.
Yeah, pretty ballsy that MSL dives through that jungle smoke when it comes down. You would expect to see that from a CT, so most Ts should be watching that that bench position, but not going to be able to stop the in-game leader. Big brain, big frags. It's OpTic Gaming finding their first here on the CT side, and with the bomb plant from these Ts, we imagine just an eco. Get the Eagles, get P250s, and get a buy in round number 3. I think tech pause though, so we're just waiting a minute for that to get sorted, but no worries.
Yeah, no, I mean, you know, it's good that they're emerging early on, right? When you have not an important round to play if you're ex-Space Soldiers here, and for OpTic, this is one they can just look to keep pretty clean. That man on your screen, that's Emor, the newest addition, I guess you'd say, or the least experienced addition to this ex-Space Soldiers squad, yeah. And he's someone who, as the analyst S said, day one, really, you know, we didn't see much signs of life from him. I think he managed, what, 18, 19 kills
16.
across 2 maps, so ooh, giving him too much credit.
Yeah, sorry.
But, you know, yesterday, especially on Dust 2, but, you know, also translating across on a trade, I think it was, had a pretty good showing there as well. So if he can keep that up, if he can come into this day now and, you know, we can see some signs of life that we saw back from him yesterday, then maybe this ex-Space Soldier squad could surprise us.
That's what we hope to see, Harry. Obviously, in the long term, there are still plenty of questions as to how long this, or where this roster will go, right? Like, it's difficult to lose your 2 best players. Or not, well, maybe not 2 best players, but 2 most important players, and that being your IGL and, of course, Antares, who was, without a doubt, the best player in this team. And I hope this doesn't hurt Calyx in the long run, because he's a guy that we kind of put next to Antares as that, you know, secondary fragger on this roster originally, and without a doubt is still a very skilled player. Maybe more difficult to find the same success without his buddy setup of Antares.
There was definitely a time where there was, you know, the Calyx and Antares, both of them topping the charts, but it was towards the end of that team's tenure that you saw Calyx take more of a supporting role, right, with you know, mainly just being there to set Antares up. And we actually saw some pretty big performances from the likes of Paz towards the end of that roster. You know, he was actually kind of rising up through the scoreboard, starting to deliver some decent performances alongside Antares. And the issue that these guys have had right now, at least, is that neither Calyx nor Paz has really amazed us in any of these games thus far. You've really been looking towards the 2 new boys in the form of Yam and Emor to actually step up, and that really doesn't feel like it's how it should be. Yeah,
Yam's hit some nice shots, but at the end of the day, the Space Soldiers have been in a lot of awful predicaments, Harry. You know, not being the favourites coming into these games, getting manhandled a little bit. If you look back to that game versus Malsports, where it was just constant aggression on the CT side of both maps of Inferno and Train. So it's kind of hard to show what you've got and what you've prepared as a team when you're getting like disrespected in the server, right? If a team's not letting you play your own game, if they're just commanding the duels and the gunfights, yeah, you are going to have a tough time. And you know, that's why going into such important matches here on LAN, where you only play 3 best of 3s to find out where you're going to place here, there's not a lot of room for failure. So let's see. Space Soldiers, pistols out here. Deagle and Armor on Emor. Everyone else pretty much eco. And OpTic's chance to start things off with a 2-0.
Yeah, Nico just takes these fights over in mid. He feels pretty happy with it, right? There's no armor behind these Deags. Emor did have some armor behind his, but it didn't last very long. So yeah, now just 3 Deagles left starting of this round. And it's looking like it's going to live up to the promise of being a clean one. But it was interesting that you touched on Yam. He has, he's had his fair share of good performances. You know, day one, I think, was when we kind of noted him the most, especially in that matchup over on Train, where they played versus Mouse Sports. Obviously, Yam was really one of the guys putting up numbers for this X-Space Soldiers squad. Thinking back to yesterday, there were definitely a few cracks starting his show right, a few shots being missed here and there, where maybe his aggressive style of AWPing was actually hurting the X-Space Soldiers side. You imagine it doesn't help, as you say, the fact that they have just come into this and kind of gotten very dictated to by the other teams how they have to try and play. And that's with a team that doesn't even really have a style or, you know, a brand of CS just yet, right? They're still trying to figure this out themselves, let alone while you have other teams really throwing multiple spanners in the works. You thought one was bad enough. Well, pushing towards the B-bomb site. Snappy going to get Molotoved out of position here, and he gets brought down. Config has rotated in to try and bail them out, and try he will. 3 kills here. Nico now swinging wide to help out, and it's only Yam left standing. Big round from Config, the desk highlighting him as someone that they wanted to see even more from, and there it is in that 3rd round as he shuts down that full buy of X-Space Soldiers over towards B.
Yeah, 5 AKs and getting absolutely nowhere, barely getting out of the apartments on that B-bomb site. Even though they found the entry kill to get in there, Config lets them know further. So 3-0, more pistols, Harry. These rounds are never fun.
And this is kind of the thing, right? X-Space Soldiers are really one of the teams here that maybe do get a bit hurt by the new format in some sense, right? You imagine if we had like that same kind of grinding season before, at least you can look for some improvement over the course of it. You don't really have the time to do that now. You know, there's no...
it's cutthroat, Harry.
Yeah, it is, and that's kind of how it should be. You know, the teams that show up go forward, and the teams that fall behind, well, they get cut loose.
Ooh, nice shot, but it's after 2 kills from OpTic here, so an irretrievable gun and still no utility to get themselves to a bomb site. Config's going to have a field day here in middle unless they find this angle. Oh dear, what a shot. Ready for that angle. So these 2 Deags have come out clutch now for these Ts. Now, can they find any more? Yam's not spotted refresh on the site, and the timing. Oh, it's favored Yam. The issue is the shot doesn't. Refresh with the York wins that battle. And now OpTic have no one on this B site, just a man on Cat who will begin to back off as he hears the footsteps in the apartment. Space Soldiers not being quiet about this approach, just trying to find the 1 Deag to get them into a bomb plant scenario, but it's going to be easier said than done. Unable to cross towards the site, and that will be OpTic taking a 4-0. But good eco. Couple of kills of the Deagles. However, nothing to really write home about. The AWP is out, though. For both.
Yeah, we get to see this head-to-head between Yam and MSL. Now, Yam, obviously someone who's shown to be a very aggressive AWP. But MSL, interestingly enough, I figured we would see him taking quite like a passive approach to how he's playing with the AWP, right? But we really haven't seen that from him. He's been pretty key in taking a lot of these gunfights. He's been the man. I think he's got some of the highest opening kill ratios of the whole event thus far. So he's been very proactive in how he looks to use it. It's going to be interesting to see how he fares versus Yam here. Obviously, we already saw him best the likes of Cadian in that head-to-head versus North. In this round, Present showing over towards B early from the X-Space Soldiers squad. This has certainly got the attention of MSL and Snappy at this side of the map. But there's no over-rotation today from OpTic. They haven't seen anything to justify that apart from the 1 man up in apartments. This does leave mid open, though, and X-Space Soldiers going to be quick to move into their new home down in middle. The home invader, MSL, creeping round through short, might have something to say about it.
Ooh, smoke in the window as well. We could even see a boost here, but they're looking towards the connector right now. That's a close smoke to give them control up towards this A site, allow them to get closer, and with the player in Palace and Engine wrapping the spawn right now, it looks like that A split. The question is, do OpTic realize they're not playing aggressive within the B apartments, or even on short for that matter, so no real info for OpTic, but this is going to have to come down to the crossfires being run within the A site. We've got Config fighting off with Refresh side by side. Yam looks for the B pick. He spots the AWP, but we could have a swing out from close Cat where Snappy sits. In the meantime, Config has been picked up out of the sandwich, and this A split is ripe for the taking.
Yeah, they Molly Nico back as he tries to get out of danger. Calyx going to go peeking in, and now it's Refresh here alone from the depths of CT to try and keep the ex-Space Soldiers out of his bomb site, and he's certainly done a good job as he's able to pick up 2 quick kills. MSL now left in the 1v3, and the odds very much stacked against him. He makes some noise, and now Yam is aware. Paz still up in Palace, but MSL plucks the first man from the ranks of ex-Space Soldiers. Still 2 more yet to find, and it's Emor and CT to get his attention. Try and draw out MSL. Paz has gone for this rotation, likely just round towards ramp, and yeah, indeed it is. MSL, smoke on the bomb, taps it, trying to pick the ramp peak. There's Paz, and now he's on it. Emor has to pick up the pace here. He has to try and get him off the bomb, but he's missed. An OpTic, a 5th round. MSL with the 1v3. Oh, not quite able to finish off Emor at the very end, but my word, MSL kickstarting a fantastic CT side for OpTic. They're going to move 5-0 up. He holds his nerve in the 1v3 and then balls a steal to stick the defuse.
The issue is Paz rotated there at the Palace, and I think the reason he did that is because he flashed his teammate out through Con and assumed that MSL knew where he was. As far as I can tell, MSL had no idea. He never saw Paz in Palace. He never saw the flashbang come through that position. And so the first thing he checked was ramp. If, you know, Paz doesn't go for the full rotate there, he probably gets MSL off that bomb. So that's an awkward detail there for the T's. And now, I mean, they can still buy Harry, but that's a round that they never should have lost in the first place. 5-0 for OpTic, a brilliant start to their CT side of Mirage.
Yeah, no, I think they did know that Paz was in the Palace because he assisted with killing Refresh. But I'm imagining the logic is the second he was allowed to kill Yam and it wasn't traded down in Connector, you know, he was open to Palace at that point in time. I think he anticipated that's where the trade would have likely have came in.
Yeah.
But regardless, it was still the round for OpTic either way, and now Space Soldiers cobbling this by together. They've got the AWP on Yam. It's netted the man advantage as he goes blow for blow with MSL and is actually able to win that fight out. That was over here towards the triple stack, and now mid-control in the way of ex-Space Soldiers, but as they have their attention divided between short and that A bomb site, they get picked off. Refresh down on the ramp, able to deal with Paz up in Palace, and one by one, the ex-Space Soldiers getting picked apart. It's all onto Yam. And with so many bodies looking his way, it's not happening. OpTic 6-0 start. And ex-Space Soldiers, considering this was their map pick, it's really not inspiring all too much confidence here. Yeah,
these AUG crossfires are nasty to deal with. Even though ex-Space Soldiers find the first pick, predictable push into the A bomb site, OpTic are ready for it with the cat aggression on config. And 2 kills from Nico in that round as well, lining up both connector split players in the connector.
And this is one of the things at ex-Space Soldiers, we say that they're a team having a bit of an identity crisis perhaps, and that's kind of going to be magnified in these best of threes because they haven't really found a map that they are comfortable on, you know? Like, you look at Mouse Sports just yesterday, right? They said how Dust 2 looked good in the scrims, and then they got wrecked on it. And, you know, at least they had other maps in that map pool that they did show up, they did play well on. So you can kind of get a feel for it, you know? You can get a feel how you stack up in these games based on just how they go. And ex-Space Soldiers so far have learned that really no map has been their map.
Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, it doesn't really, you know, specifically come down to the map not being great for them. These matchups are all unfavorable for the Space Soldiers, so you do have to remember that. But let's see, fast A play here with the half buy. We've got SMG going in first here for Emor, trying to find an opening kill. He does manage to force OpTic out of the bomb site, but that's exactly what they want. They didn't have heavy A control to begin with, so easy to play retake. Yam's actually up in the B apartments right now, and that's the bomb dropped through the corner of the smoke. MSL finds 2, and he's protecting this package with his life. Nico's walked into the smoke, and it's only this B player alone. They don't know he's here, but they do have the bomb, so it doesn't even matter. Gets damaged, but this is where they can triple peek him, and that's exactly what happens. MSL, another 3K. This AWP is proving to be a real problem for ex-Space Soldiers.
And MSL with the AWP has really looked impressive throughout the entirety of the Pro League thus far, right? He, coming into this, you know, I wasn't really sure how he was going to stack up versus the players that have kind of been donning it as their primary thing for a lot longer, and he's been doing a great job. Not playing the passive style of AWP that we're so used to seeing from a lot of AWP IGLs either. You know, he's very keen on taking these fights.
Yeah.
Config trying to land the short jump, but Yam beats him to it. Once again, it is Yam to kickstart this round for X-Space Soldiers with the man advantage. They haven't been able to convert a single one of these situations thus far. Closest they came, obviously, was where MSL gets that 1v3 defuse off.
Pressure really is on now for X-Space Soldiers to convert an advantage. They can't afford to keep letting these slip. And this is where OpTic may gamble. They've put 2 players on this B site. Solo mid hold from Nico, just watching the boost. That's the issue with this map is you can give up mid, that's fine as a CT, but you can't exactly give up the window because this is a position that can be so annoying to allow for T's to wrap behind enemy lines. Almost catches the timing. Engine's going to flick back, and a 2-man advantage for X-Space Soldiers. Things are going perfectly for them right now. CT smoke from Yam to try and set up for this A play, the bomb in tow as well, and OpTic, they've only got 1 man committed here. They will need to rotate if they want to win this round.
Oh, Refresh having a pivot between so many angles at once, but this man's got his protractor out. He's measuring them up. Good for 2 once again. The wraparound from Calyx looks to try and seal the fate of OpTic in this round. And once more, it's MSL, a 1v3. But we've seen this play out in his favor before. You can't rely on getting those defuses every time, though. There's Yam drop, 15 seconds. This bomb has to get across and get into the bomb site. It has to look to go down, and it's planted for mid. That is where Calyx resides right now. MSL is given this temporary 1v1 inside of the bomb site, but it's the crossfire between Connected that's going to cause him all the problems. The second he gets spotted, even if he deals with Calyx, Paz can just peek instantly on the back of it. Ooh. So a perfect post plant there for the X-Space Soldiers, even though it gets a bit worrying. They will get their first round on the board.
Yeah, and in fact, these rounds have been close, Harry, so it's not like OpTic have money to fall back on if they lose 2 here. So this is where X-Space Soldiers can start to find their groove on this T site, get into the map before it gets too out of control, but some of the shots that we're seeing hit by OpTic, you know, it's not a guarantee they're going to be able to double down here. It's Config now trying to take matters into his own hands up top of middle. We've got that top mid smoke from OpTic as well to cut out control. Emo's going down on the ramp early on as well. We have X-Space Soldiers just trying to barrel into the bomb site. AWP this time caught. They expect the bench push. MSL has done that before, and Config's been flashed into this position. Now, will they expect this so late in the round? Did they even see it? As X-Space Soldiers that want nothing to do with the A bomb site. They back off. They found themselves in a 3-on-3 with still a modicum of utility left, so this doesn't necessarily have to be the full-on A commitment with 1.5 minutes on the clock. They can decide to back off and send a lurk back round.
Ooh, there's a slight gap in that smoke that Yam can look to exploit. Nico catches the timing perfectly to get rid of Paz. Now, this has put a seed of doubt in the mind of OpTic. You could see they hesitated on whether or not they should send Snappy back toward that B bomb site, but Nico hasn't heard anything else to signal that this push could be coming in. So they've just elected to rotate all 3 players over towards A. X-Space Soldiers going to be walking in to this stack. Yam setting up the flash to try and facilitate this cross from Engine. He's looking to try and take the fight and does deal with Config. Still 2 more players here though, and now the question becomes, will the X-Space Soldiers be ready for it? What? No, they are not. Snappy. Both kills from CT. He holds his own with the AUG, and OpTic is straight back in with an 8th round.
Yeah, a bit of a whiff shot there into that CT peak. It happens to the best of us, Harry, but it's put OpTic in a very strong spot now. Still money for X-Space Soldiers to buy up. And I like the attempt of the mid-round, right? They're in a 3-on-3. They send the lurk background. OpTic just very aware of that possibility. And once they lost control or lost information towards the ramp, we saw Config peel out from that that sandwich position. They knew that, or at least they had the idea that it wasn't the fast A play. And that's when we saw Nico wrap back towards underpass and keep an eye on the underpass flank, that of which put them in the advantage. And now it's Space Soldiers with a tactical pause. Probably a good time for one, considering how one-sided this game has been so far.
And one of the things is, was it Calix over towards B who Nico picked up, or was it Paz? I'm trying to remember which one of them. But regardless, you know, they've been focusing on having, you know, Calix and Paz interchangeably kind of come in on these late lurks around in towards B, right? But the only issue with that is you know, the second Nico finds one of those two names they've always seen over in the apartments, then you can start to read into that maybe it is just a fake. Not to mention, I would always like Calix or Paz with the majority of the squad, right? These guys used to be the guys who could step up alongside Centaurez. I think you want to have them leading these site charges for Space Soldiers. Mid-control taken this time around.
We have seen Emor as the first man in, really, to a lot of these bomb sites in the games we've seen this week. So I think he's taken that role for the team. Not an easy role. You know, if you're hitting your shots, it can be great, but you can obviously be cannon fodder and just be a player that gets traded and plays off of information. But now it's Calix left in the connector. This is great for Space Soldiers. They've gained a very valuable position early. You can see, though, they're having to crawl through the spawn here as they take their way back towards A, and this B fake is attempted to be sold by Engine. He at least gets utility out of the hands of OpTic, but they're not falling for it. And MSL definitely knows that Calix is in the connector. Molotov will force the peak, and the shot is hit. That's perfect. Now they should expect the A play, knowing that Space Soldiers set up a player to split A earlier on.
The one smoke that Space Soldiers had left goes down in CT. MSL almost gets caught repositioning, but he's straight back out. Dancing around the triple box, just buying so much time, and they can't seem to deal with him. He's such a nuisance, and this is where that connector wrap would have been so valuable had MSL already not dismantled it earlier in the round. And he's going to keep on taking Space Soldiers apart. Yam finally able to best the CT side AWP. But a 1v4, he's just running for the hills. He's getting the hell out of there. And OpTic, looking like they wanted to chase, but
they don't have their own economy in order. That's the issue. You don't want to, you know, break your own money by buying up so much, or by, you know, losing players on the exit when you know that Space Soldiers don't have money. You can give them this AWP. It's not going to be a problem. They've been dealing with the, you know, every push that these teams have dealt them absolutely fine. So no reason to, you know, disallow yourself to play your own game. You want those full rifles, Harry.
No, definitely, right. And not to mention, think about the amount of times we've seen, especially with this new economy, these 9-1 leads or 8-1 leads just flip-flop the other way, and suddenly a team can get straight back into a game on the back of how the economy plays out now. Space Soldiers obviously do have that full loss bonus banked up. There's Yam, finding the opener once again. Now, he's been very good at that for Space Soldiers throughout this event thus far. He has been the man who you can look to with that AWP to open rounds up. It's just been closing them out.
Ooh. Look at this push, though, OpTic. They've gained deep B control, and they might think it's A off the back of it, but Snappy's information, once he sees this push, is going to certainly make him realize. Flash is avoided, but the second man is, and Paz gets the trade, and now an AK is gifted over to this half by Space Soldiers, now fully armed here, are going to be very, very dangerous. Config's dropped, and MSL won't get anything done with his AWP from the market. It is a clean round from these Ts. A B plant and a round win. There's no way Nico can contest it.
And you could see from Snappy there, right? He knew that he was in a real spot of danger. You know, he's waiting outside of B. He has that deep B apps control, as you say, which meant that we saw a reasonably heavy hold over towards mid and A from OpTic. And it was, he heard, I think it was one of the players setting up the flashbangs made a footstep, right? And you could see at that moment in time, the rotation started to come in from Config. Because Snappy knows, right, in that situation, if he doesn't get two, this round is likely over. And the fact that he was only able to deal with Emor, plays the anti-flash well and everything, he reads into it perfectly. But the kills come up Space Soldiers, and as you pointed out, they juggled the guns around so that they had a very decent buy in that situation. All the kills come their way. Now, Nico's going to find a few on the exit. Those aren't really weapons you want to be throwing away if you are Space Soldiers.
And he even gets the AWP as well. He goes back into market to grab the weapon off MSL, knowing that Space Soldiers wouldn't save it themselves. They already have one on Yam. It took down MSL in the market. So, yeah, great play from Nico, breaking the money a little bit, and, of course, getting away with the big old green gun. But now it's a tactical pause, this time from OpTic, though. And, yeah, it's fine. Go ahead, use them. You're sitting pretty at the moment. Obviously, knowing that the money could be a bit of a problem in this follow-up round with it being back and forth in the last couple, with Space Soldiers starting to find their groove. But, I mean, 9-2 doesn't really look like they're in control of the situation. OpTic going back into things with the buy, and it's very, very good given the context. Obviously, the saved AWP will make all the difference here for MSL. He has been the ring leader alongside Nico for this OpTic side in this map, at least. Both sitting on 14 kills apiece. They can keep that up, then we're looking for a very good half on the CT side. X-Space Soldiers fast playing middle to dive into the connector here. They've got another A play coming, but this time it's a little bit more off spawn. OpTic don't have any mid control, or much map control for that matter. Nico's got to watch out for this connector push, and he's got a gap in the corner of the smoke, so he might be able to see if they go through it, but Paz is just waiting for his team to set up these A smokes so they can go for the full-out brawl.
Now this utility starting to trickle in rather, not quite treacle, but maybe it'll be a sweet round for X-Space Soldiers. Certainly doesn't look like it right now. Nico able to deal with the one lurk player in the form of Paz. You do still have Emor down in connector. We need to see him emerge his head and deal with Nico, and indeed he does. Refresh going to fall shortly after. So this A site starting to get cracked open. Uncharacteristically so. Missed shot from MSL, and one by one this is falling apart for OpTic. It's Snappy asked to clutch, and he's been asked a lot, but he's stepping up to the plate right now. Calyx and Emor left standing. He's able to isolate the lone man down on ramp, and they almost line up as they try and double peek him, but they do secure the frag. They secure the round. A third for X-Space Soldiers, and the AWP carried forward as well.
Yeah, that cross from Emor was saved it there. You could see Snappy didn't know that Emor had already made it to triple. He was keeping his eye, or at least his crosshair, over on that stairs position. And double peek coming through will save the round for X-Space Soldiers. So, yeah, third on this T side, and the money's gone for OpTic. This is where things, like you said, Harry, these 9-1 scorelines, they can flip like that. And we could suddenly see a 9-6 here off the back of, you know, a couple of rifle round wins, put OpTic on eco. There's 4 rounds. And then you only need 1 more rifle win to actually get 6 on the half, which is, you know, a pretty decent T side, if all things considered. Already starting to get into that spot. MSL's dead. There is still deep B apps control taken by OpTic as Snappy sits here, but I'm sure they'll check it. They've done it so before. Not exactly weapons for OpTic to play with in this round either.
No, there's really not much stake in this round if you are OpTic. But we've seen a few times here on the Pro League, Hugo, that these full eco rounds are sometimes
a little bit dicey.
Yeah. So for X-Space Soldiers, it's not just about winning this round. You also want to keep it as clean as feasibly possible. Now, with the max loss bonus still banked up, you're really not that worried. You can afford to be a little bit more careless, but you still want to keep a bank nice and healthy for yourself. So as they decide to hit this A bomb site, will they be ready for config up in the Palace? He's kind of the X factor, the unknown quantity almost. They don't have it cleared, so they should anticipate there could be a player here. And yeah, with that smoke landing, they'll thwart config's plan. Fast flank from Snappy maybe yields something here, but no.
I think config can just wait till the end of the round and then see who's leaving the bomb site. And the longer that he takes to do anything, the less they think he's here. But Yam keeps his eye on it, well trained, knowing the config has been playing that A site so far this map. Another round for the X-Space Soldiers. Still, the money starting to build now for OpTic. They can get a buy-in here, but lacking the AWP, lacking full utility and kits. And it's not like they have any other option. You wouldn't want to eco and give away 5 rounds and play for that, you know, potential 10-5. You may as well go hard or go home, Harry. That's what they say. And so OpTic buying up again. That's the top mid smoke from config. Trying to lock X-Space Soldiers out of this position, which is a good idea considering there's no AWP for OpTic, but there is one for these Ts, and it's already out through the smoke.
Yeah, the problem with this fast smoke, right, is you really have to try and play aggressively in mid on the back of it, and with Yam already being up past it, and with more support here, that smoke is going to telegraph there's likely some mid aggression, so they get the 1-for-1 trade. Best of a bad situation there. It's quickly, though, returned by Paz up in Palace. Refresh even gets caught repositioning, and I know where he is. Config will grace the scoreboard with 1.
Nice try, given the health, but Paz will win that duel. And now 2 players left to try and retake the site. I say retake the bomb still, T-spawn. It needs to be grabbed, and that gives ample time for these CTs to fight. But fight they shall, and lose the fight they shall. Config dead in the spawn. Snappy now alone on B, and you've really got to throw into question, okay, do I even bother going for this, or do we just play for the last round of the half. Now, 2 players are tagged up, so if that information is communicated, it could be very tempting for Snappy. I think this is a round you certainly look into at least, considering how late this bomb has gone down.
Ooh, had he caught Engine there, I feel like we almost definitely would have seen Snappy more enticed. The issue is he just gets away with some chip damage. So yeah, he's going to back off and look to try and hold on to this AUG, perhaps. And yeah, that's definitely the call now. He's not really looking too keen on this. Actually just misses the timing to find Calyx. And Paz and Engine both so low, but the issue is that bomb time is already too far ticked. So it will be the 5th for Space Soldiers. And this is what you and I were saying, right? When it was 8-1 up, we commented how, you know, you can still salvage a good half from that. That's exactly what we're seeing right now. 9-5 is the scoreline.
You're looking for the AWP. Can't find it. MSL won't get that big old sniper for the last round of the half, Harry. It's looking like a potential 9-6 on the score. The Space Soldiers begin to get back into things. It's OpTic, yeah, fielding a pretty weak buy for this last round. They got lots of utility, that's one positive, and they need to take it slow if they're going to be able to use all of this. We saw that fast triple connector play in the previous round, but look at the pace now being set from Space Soldiers. Quick B-site take, and only one man here to stop it.
Yeah, it is Snappy with that AUG, though, that he was able to hold forward from the round prior. Also, look at MSL, by the way. I was going to comment on how we might see some mid-aggression from OpTic, and that does look to be the case. But now we need to see Snappy hold his own for this information. MSL gets to even be worth it. Nico has kept things in the advantage of OpTic, and MSL's gone barreling through this smoke. Oh, but Nico, where's this come from? The Scoutsman from the kitchen might have just made this round possible. A 1v3 for Engine is required here. He's inside the bomb site. Does have the bomb on his back, but the issue is the longer he takes, the more valuable this wraparound from Refresh becomes, and eventually the penny might drop. Config is keeping an eye on this push. Engine going to get spotted. Now they know his whereabouts, and we see Refresh on the back of it start to creep forward through the apartments, applying that much more pressure. Nico can't win them all. Does deal with the first man. Is aware of the possibility of the flank, and Refresh misses the timing. Now down in the bomb site, might give up this 1v1, but no, he's able to find it. OpTic a 10-5 half as they do stumble back to their feet there at the end. Space Soldiers able to muster 5, so definitely not impossible as they only sit 5 rounds behind the Danes here. There is still a chance for the Space Soldiers on their map pick. Can they pull it back? Over on the CT side, find out after the break. 10-5 are the scores on the doors at the end of this first half. It was the side of OpTic to field a pretty strong CT side portion, and a lot of it coming on the back of this man on your screen right now, MSL having a stand-up performance with the AWP. I feel like, likewise, we could even shuffle some conversation the way of Yam, doing a good job of finding those openers for X-Space Soldiers. MSL likewise in the OpTic camp. So both the AWPers showing up here. But it's the rest of the team materializing around the X-Space Soldiers side that now we need to look towards. Some very stacked odds, as you can see, from the wonderful folks over at Betway. So they're clearly favoring the OpTic side, and I would have to agree, but this pistol round, Calyx good for one before he's traded out, and already this A-bomb site is overrun with Danes.
Yeah, bomb down as well, and Snappy even takes down Yam. He wasn't ready for the close position, so 3-on-3 on the retake. And Snappy, he's keeping an eye on this door. He won't let anyone through. 4 kills from the ex-in-game leader of OpTic. And now Paz left in the 1-on-3, no kit. Bomb's open. It's not looking good, Harry. He's going to give it a go. It's a pistol round after all, but no one's even giving him a duel, and he doesn't even know where the second player, or the third player rather, is trying to battle MSL. Snappy's behind, and there is the ace. What a start to this T side OpTic have set. And that may just drag him over the finish line here, Harry.
Yeah, maybe you never worry about making the wrong decisions with enough IGLs in the team, Hugo.
Everything is a good decision.
Yeah, everything. Now, I mean, Snappy there has a very favorable angle, right? The fact he's able to get so deep in jungle, that is just such an OP spot to hold, especially if you're there with the Glock, watching the murder hole.
In that duel, you will never be favored as someone coming back in from CT. You will never be favored.
Especially with no flashbangs, no pop flashes to get thrown for you through. Hugo, you showed me a great one.
There's a nifty little pop flash you can throw off the wall that bounces through that the murder hole. You can slip through with it. Very valuable for retaking. I suggest you learn it. Harry, you don't know your flashbangs and your smokes, do you? You're not really a utility guy.
Yeah, I'm not really. I know some. The issue is I spend ages. I'll learn like loads, and then I don't play for like 3 months and just forget them all.
That's why you got to practice them all the time.
Yeah, but how do you do that? How do you have enough time in the day?
No, you just sit down on the server for 10 minutes and do all the smokes you know. Like, you learn them, obviously, first, and then you sit down, once a week, one map.
But when you're traveling, do you not forget them? That's my issue, is after a while,
we watch enough CS. I remember enough, I think. You do forget some.
I know enough. I know, like, the basic ones, but...
I don't know. I've never seen you throw a smoke in my life. I'm not going to lie.
Harry,
we play a lot of CS.
I'm always the stairs smoker from Palace, man.
Yeah, but that's the easiest... Oh, from Palace. That's even, it's even easier.
And a Molotov under, so,
wow, dude.
Big middle finger to you, mate.
Big impact.
Yeah, well,
At least he has
top of the server, mate, so there's always that.
Yeah,
Yam, he's got the AWP out over here on the side of X-Space Soldiers. We don't have one shining through for OpTic just yet, but you can rest assured that they'll look to bring that out sometime soon. Or maybe they won't. MSL's been pretty keen on only AWPing CT side.
That is true, yeah. I mean, even on Overpass. That being said, I think T-side AWP on Mirage is definitely easier to find opening kills than it is Overpass. Less, common angles to check. Fast A play, though, that pick from Config is going to spur them on, but Paz has dropped the bomb, fully blinded through the smoke. Will get parted anyway. Can he find it again? Can he drop it a second time? That's a no. Config very risky to put that spam damage through, considering how low he was, but Paz didn't stop the player in his tracks, and now the retake is on for X-Space Soldiers. 4-on-4.
The issue is, and it's a double-edged sword, right? You're never going to expect 4 players down at ramp, so Snappy lining up this flash. The smoke's down, and that nullifies the entire OpTic defense in one go. They're trying to flash through, and Config does get engine off the bomb. Somehow the frags are materializing. They know they found the bomb planter, so they've got time to work with. Snappy's in with another, but Emor's on the bomb. He's sticking it, not enough time, though. And OpTic, a 13th round. Try as Emor might to cut the wire in time. It's not as easy as it looks, and that will be OpTic finding another round.
Blunt scissors, Harry. It's never fun. You got to get those kits in. But yeah, that was a very sloppy postman there for OpTic. I don't know if that was even the game plan to shuffle 4 down ramp. It almost seemed like they desperately ran back after getting tagged up. But a round is a round, Harry. Those pop flashes back up into the A site were fantastic to facilitate the kills coming in from OpTic. So 13-5 and more pistols here. We even have Emor on the Zeus, playing close below that B balcony. And OpTic just given mid here. No one can hold it down with the pistols in the CT's hands. Snappy's nearing 20 kills. Nico, he's surpassed 20 kills at this point. So having some shining lights or shining stars here for OpTic. Molotov to the window, that will catch Yam, so he has to jump up, and they're going to hear that burn as well from the underpass. Another position that OpTic contain with the bomb. This is a dangerous position to have the bomb. You can easily get peeked from top, short, or window from both sides, but OpTic do a good job of flushing Space Soldiers out of this middle portion of the map. The molly's up on Cat, the molly's in the window, the smoke now to follow. There's no information here for Space Soldiers, so they've got to gamble, and they will. Stack on B. The issue is that pick, it opens up the A site, and OpTic just keep going.
Ooh. Well, they managed to deal with MSL, but yeah, not much more should come through here. Would be a bit of a blunder on behalf of OpTic if they allowed too many more kills to go the way of Space Soldiers, but they are coming through slowly but surely. From this point, though, it should just be the round for OpTic, and that seals it there. Only engine left standing. This little lull in the action while they try and find him gives us a bit of time. Hugo, I don't know if you saw the recent debate on Twitter. There was, I think it was like Rops and a few others speaking about it, along with Devil Walk. And it was about the jump throw, like smoke bind, and whether or not that should be allowed or not. What's your opinion? Do you use it?
Yeah, I do. I didn't see the discussion, but I've yet to see a good argument as to why you shouldn't be able to use it. Like, if you're going to accept that that's a part of the game, everyone's okay. Let's be real. Everyone's already getting around it anyway by using 2 keys. So let's not pretend that it's not still happening. Okay. And I think...
See, I used to have one, and this is my big issue with smoke throwing, is now I don't, because I wanted to try and learn to do them without. But as highlighted by a lot of people, if you miss a smoke by 1 tick, which, is literally like 0.16 seconds or something like that...
For reference, it is impossible to replicate jump smokes without a bind consistently. Yeah. You can certainly do it, but it does take luck and, just good timing. But
it was like a battle between the new age of CS and the purists, because MBK was one of the guys speaking out against it.
What was he saying?
He was just saying he thinks that part of the skill comes from not having the jump throw bind.
Yes, but the thing is, I think it lowers the cap of the game in a sense, right? Well, if you can't throw every
it's an interesting discussion, but we'll hold on until we get into a less important round again, because there's so much to talk about with that. But Hugo, they're setting up for the A side play over here. OpTic are. They've got 4 players waiting outside of the bomb site. Config coming in on this late wrap in through lower tunnels. So this is going to culminate in this A play. The split from Palace, ramp, and mid looking to come through. You can use Config to try and open things up, or you can have him to cut off these rotations as they come in. Now that relies on OpTic finding these opening gunfights and actually getting into the bomb site. Nothing materializes right now, but still only 3 players here for the Space Soldiers side.
Oh, they know the molly as well. MSL forces Calyx into his vision. Paz, edge of the smoke. Do they expect this spot? Surely they check the connector, but this is an off angle. They will find it. MSL dropping his second of the round before the AWP fires back from Yam. A good trade, but is it too late? Apparently so. Config pops his head up, and he'll take off Yam. So that smoke going back down, and Config, he's got the after plant as well. The bomb's open for him in that A site. And already Space Soldiers falling back, conceding this one. 15-5, Harry. We said that this first half could have come back into, what could have been a closer game, and it did. 10-5 from a 9-1. That's a good recovery, but it's the second half where things really fall apart here for Space Soldiers. They're going to have one more chance, one more round at least, to remedy this situation, but relying off of loss bonus and a couple of saved guns, you're not exactly banking on it.
And I mean, you can just see Space Soldiers kind of looking very scared across the map, right? Very fearful about taking any information plays, really showing much aggression. Instead, they just play back in the bomb sites. And, we see there, the second you lose those 3 players, you've got no one else nearby to help out. You've really got no follow-through, right, if you are the Space Soldiers side. So now, they are able to hold on to those 2 rifles. They can have those players drop over. So you do get a buy here if you're the Space Soldiers side. The AWP carried forward as well. They've got a fairly decent one left in the tank, but they need 10 rounds in a row to take this one through to overtime. OpTic standing on the finish line here of map number 1. And I'm switching things up with his aggression in through lower tunnels. Now, he's made a lot of noise getting here, so Config certainly aware of the fact. Is a player here, and now that Yam's been spotted over by the players in top mid, he is in a spot of trouble indeed. He needs help from his teammates to get out of this one. They throw a smoke for him to cross through. And with these smokes going down and Yam deciding to stick around, that there does lull OpTic into the false sense of security that maybe he's left mid. Still, he's only good for 1 kill on the back of it. A 3v3 right now. And OpTic looking like this might culminate in the A play, but now that they've lost Refresh, maybe that throws a bit of a spanner into the old works.
Yeah, they're looking for a pick with config so low here. Now the plus side, they do have plenty of utility to go for and execute. And you're hoping X-Space Soldiers in this downtime start to split up and give you access to sites. Now, with this setup of Space Soldiers, you're relying on one player to you know, really win their duels, because there's only one man committed within that A site right now. He's got a lot to do. Smoke towards the jungle. That's going to cut off Paz. He's just going to go right through it, though. Fight middle. Sees config in the connector. Now, if he knew he was low, he'd certainly take that fight, but not having the information. Config flashing his teammate through and now going towards A. A smoke came out from the ramp earlier, so X-Space Soldiers should be aware of this position. And Nico, he's creeping, crawling into the site, but does he check default? Even if he does, Calyx has a teammate in the spawn to help him out, but reposition with only 10 seconds left. That wasn't necessary, and Calyx is going to pay for it. 13 as this bomb comes up the ramp. The connector covered off by the utility, and this plant needs to come in.
Oh, that Molotov might have been enough to deny it. Pass through the smoke.
Yeah.
He's secured this round, and X-Space Soldiers will hold on. They live to fight another day. A 6th round of their name. That round very dicey, though, towards the end, right? I mean, 2 on 3, you feel like X-Space Soldiers should have been picking that one up, and there was definitely a time where it felt like OpTic were almost back into that round, right? With the re-smoke falling in connector, securing the bomb site, picking up Calyx. They had all the pieces of the puzzle. It was that one Molotov thrown in to force the repositioning of config, the man with the bomb who was very low on HP. The second that happened, the round was secured, right? They had to get the kills from that point onwards, and obviously, as we saw, X-Space Soldiers were able to find it. But here's MSL already securing that 5 on 4 for the Danish squad.
Oh, Snappy saw the AWP. He's got to be very careful here. This is not an easy or a favorable angle for him. Yam can wallbang that word, although Snappy further from the angle, and Yam was moving closer. So it gets caught through the corner of the wall. 2-man advantage here for OpTic in what could be the final round of this map. Smoke in the window. X-Space Soldiers lacking information, lacking map control. And OpTic setting up for the B play.
Snappy's kill there is huge, right? You see him sticking around and toying with the idea of going blow for blow with Yam, and you might look at that as a very unfavorable fight for him and wonder why he's taking it, but it's largely because if Yam's able, if Yam is able to just lock down that angle, it frees up players elsewhere, right? You get so much information from it, so they can't just give him it for free. Now this the B bomb set rather has fallen, and this leaves Engine and Calyx 2v5 to try and salvage this game for X-Space Soldiers. It's not going to come through. Calyx, a 1v5 clutch required. And I mean, I don't have a lot of faith in this one. Hugo.
No, I think that's a fair assumption. Config's trained in on the angle, and it is just a matter of time, Harry. Rather, not even 1 point of damage has been done to OpTic, and he will not change that either. MSL, very apt player to be finishing things off. That is a fantastic game of Counter-Strike from him. 20 kills for him, for Snappy, for Nico. I mean, we really had a ball there for OpTic. Not a close game by any means. We do, of course,